Here is the caveat that I have about pursuing financial freedom. And this is some real talk, y'all, is I know people who have enough money to not work. Does anyone know someone who like has enough money to not work and yet they're still not happy and still not traveling and still working really hard? So I'll give you a prime example. I have an uncle who is very successful in his career and I love him. He's great, but he's 80 something years old and he's still doing taxes for other people. And I'm like, isn't there anything else you want to do? I asked him this to him last time I saw him. And I was just like, don't you want to like sing karaoke or like, I don't know, watch sports or go back to the Philippines and like see your family? And he's like, right? So what I tell people all the time, and if you follow me in social media, you'll find that I'm trying to practice freedom now, even if I'm not fully at my goal yet. And if you don't start practicing some of these hobbies, you know, spending more time mothering or whatever, don't ever think that, oh, once I have more money, then these things will happen. Don't wait for that, right? Because the amount of money that it takes to actually become financially independent is a little bit of a mind-boggling number. It's not impossible, but it's definitely challenging. What I don't want to happen is for people who are pursuing financial independence, they get to that goal and they keep moving the goalpost. And actually, I did that myself, right? So here is the actual math behind how you calculate how much money you need in order to become financially independent. I wrote an article, if you Google Bernadette Joy and how much money you need to invest before you quit your job or whatever, like that article is in Forbes, and I write articles for Forbes several times a month. But the math that financial advisors use that most people don't know is the 25X rule. Okay, so this is where we're all going to pull out our handy dandy phones. Right? So I want you right now to guesstimate about how much money do you spend on basic necessities. So when I say basic necessities, I'm talking about 5 particular categories, and I'll put them in the chat here. It's food, shelter, so either your rent or your mortgage. It is your transportation, so like your car payments or your public city bus pass if you are using that. It is your utilities, and it is your health expenses. So how much in dollars you spend every month. So for example, if you spend $1,000 on food, $2,000 on rent, you know, $600 on your car payment, $400 on utilities, and like $1,000 on like health stuff. And when I say health stuff, that's usually the stuff that keeps your house healthy, right? So your toiletries and your paper towels, or if in the US, anything that you buy at Target, right? So if you were to add that all up, and this is regardless of currency, so whatever your local currency is, okay? If you want to share in the chat, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. So first thing is, if you don't know about how much you spend, or you're like, I'm totally guessing right now, then guess what your homework assignment is today? Is to go back and actually calculate what is the amount of money I spend per month, right? So if you calculate that number, then I want you to multiply it by 12. So I'm going to pull out my phone as well. We're going to do this in real time. So pull out, so if you do your monthly expenses, so if you say, okay, it's about 4,000, I'm just going to use that as an example, right? 4,000 times 12. Then I want you to multiply, and this is where I need everyone to take a deep breath, and this is where the judgment kicks in. I want you to multiply that number by 25. So if you're someone who spends about $4,000 a month, then your financial freedom number is going to look something like $1.2 million. Oh, I'm putting this up as though you can see it. I guess you can't see it. There we go. $1.2 million. Here's where I differ, and this is why I'm not a financial advisor and I'm a financial coach, right? A lot of what I have to do with my clients is get them to start thinking differently and start thinking that this is in fact possible. Okay, so the analogy I often use with people, and it's appropriate because we're coming up on the Olympics in a couple of weeks, is that imagine how boring the Olympics would be if everyone who was competing in there said, you know what, I'm not going to win the gold, I'm not going to win the gold medal, so I'm just not going to try at all. What's the point? right? So what I want us to start thinking about is, yes, that number is really high for most people, and it's really difficult, but it's not impossible. Someone asked, is that 25 to have 25 months of freedom? No, to have freedom for the rest of your life. What that number says essentially is, in a nutshell, and you could look it up or you could read my article. It's basically, it says that if you were to save up this money and invest it, and it would earn an average rate of about 8 to 10%. Again, this is all just like theoretical here, right? If you were to withdraw the amount of money that you need every year, you would theoretically not run out of money. Why? How could you not run out of money if you're pulling money out? What do you think? That's right, Carlton. It's either you're earning interest or it's investing, and then the money is working for you. Exactly, because of interest, right? However, when people see that number, you know who tends to be the most successful clients or students that I have are the ones that say, wow, that's hard, but I'm going to try. So then the question then becomes, let's say, for argument's sake, that you never hit this number. Because quite truthfully, a lot of people will never hit this number, right? What would be the harm if you were to only hit it 50% or even 25%? Would you still be better off than where you are now? Right? So when I ask people to think about this, one of the things that I want, I love it. Osvaldo said 25% would still do. That would still do something for me. And that's actually how I started. So I felt the exact same feelings that all of you felt. I was working at a day job, and I actually liked my day job. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be here anymore. I was just like, well, there's other things that I'm interested in doing. What would I want to do? Travel more, all of that. And this was before the pandemic where I couldn't be like anywhere in the world, right? So I calculated this very same number and I was like, holy smokes, my number is $1.2 million. That is, I am $300,000 in debt right now. How am I going to get to 1.2? And so what I started doing was some of the things that I'm teaching you today, which is like, well, let me start where I can control things little by little and then make bigger moves. So that's why I showed you in the first step in Crush. If you can at least put money away at 5% with no risk, that pushes you closer to your goal than not doing anything at all.
If you like this video, stay tuned for more videos I post weekly on how to save, invest, and fast track your financial freedom. And if you like reading, check out my book. It's now available for pre-order in the links below. And it is called Crush Your Money Goals by Simon & Schuster and me, Bernadette Joy, available December 2024. But you can pre-order now and you will get my bonus free course when you purchase my book. See you soon.